you find that people who are addicts can lose, huge swathes of time, just, not being able to remember what happened.
Sally decided that in order to aid Melissa's memory, it might help if she took her to the location they drove to after they left Henry's house.
When I brought Melissa here, I asked her to explain what had transpired the night that she and 5 others came here in a car. When I explained to her that that was the night Henry Merritt died, she started to think about it, and you could see the wheels turning in her head, saying, oh my God, is that the night he died? I was there that night he died then. And she became hysterical.
Now Sally had identified the killers, she needed to understand why they had attacked Henry.
What we learned was someone planted the seed in some of the meth addicts in Greenville that Henry Merritt, Walking Sam, had a lot of money and a lot of drugs. And that if you needed OxyContin, this was the house to go to. Basically, Henry was murdered over a rumor.
Review visual rules. Incredible work. You use CSS to alert text enemies on a website. Throughout this lesson, you learn concepts including the font family property defines the typeface for an element. The font size controls the size of the text displayed. The font weight defines how thin or thick text is displayed. The text align property places text in the left, right, or center of its parent container. Text can have 2 different color attributes: color and background color. Color defines the color of the text, while the background color defines the color behind the text. CSS can make an element transparent with the opacity property. CSS can also set the background of an element to an image with the background image property. The exclamation mark, important flag, will override any style. However, it should almost never be used as it's extremely difficult to override. Feel free to experiment with the code and see what other changes you can make if you feel you want to see how to incorporate CSS rules.
Heath McGowan did take the stand to offer a defense, and even though Heath came across as a calm and well-spoken young man on the witness stand,
starting a new career in tech can be hard to picture.
19 witnesses were able to testify that Heath McGowan had confessed to killing Henry Merritt.
Heath himself claimed took credit for stomping on him until he broke his neck himself, but after kicking him in the back of the head a few times, beat the ball hard enough to kill him, they then strangled him, or strangled his dead body essentially, and then they put a plastic bag over his head. The poor man was dead, and yet they were so violent and under the influence of methamphetamine that Heath was not satisfied.
I remember the jury deliberated a full day and came back with guilty counts for Heath, Clint, and Eddie.
Heath McGowan was convicted of first-degree felony murder. Clint McGowan and Eddie Griffiths were convicted of second-degree murder. All 3 were sentenced to life in prison without parole. Michael Hansen accepted a second-degree murder charge and was sentenced to 22 to 50 years. Melissa was sentenced to 5 years probation, and due to her age, Tara was sentenced to a youth training order.
I was really glad these guys weren't going to be in our society. That's what I felt like, because this is something that if we hadn't stopped it, it was going to happen.
It was tragic and eye-opening to see so many young people getting caught up in this meth epidemic and just how the fallout was affecting the trajectory of their lives and their family and friends and innocent people like Henry Merritt.
I remember Henry as just being an entertaining guy. I'm very glad to have spent some time with Henry. I think the people, that were involved in this were just some really sick people. It's not rational to give up the rest of your life for whatever Henry had.
I worked this case to bring justice for Henry, for Henry's family,